Shalom, shalom, in the name of Yahuah and his son Yahushua HaMashiach. I bid you all good ending of Shabbat. The sun's going down, and kind of funny we're talking about that because there's just a couple things I wanted to address. There's been, and if you all haven't noticed, I haven't been on Facebook because I got rid of my Facebook. You know, for so um, no more Facebook for me because of the fact that it's just a waste of time. It's tired of seeing people argue different doctrines, just so many strange things in there. And sometimes you just got to kind of shut yourself out from there. But, um, before I got off there, I guess the one thing I've noticed, and it's just been it's just so much strange teachings out there. And, one teaching the fact that, Shabbat is from 6 p.m. to 6 p.m., or the fact that, arguments about when a day starts and everything. And there's just so many different things out there, and for you guys out there that are starting to get into this, the thing about when a day starts, I still love you guys. I'm not here to argue. I'm not here to put you guys down, because at the end of the day, we're to really walk out our own salvation with fear and trembling. And I know what you guys are going through, and I just pray that Yahuah leads each and every one of you guys in the truth. Um, and I went through a thing similar last year when I decided that I was not going to no longer go by the moon, but go based upon the Enochian calendar, equal day, equal night. And you know what? I've been doing it for less than a year, but it's proven to be correct. But that's not what my video is about today. I just want to throw a couple things out there. I know that Double J's been posting videos out there, and I love you, brother. I do. I love each and every one of you guys out there. Trying to get the truth out there, and I know that New Netzer is kind of doing rebuttal, but I kind of want to do this in a different angle here. I've seen that people kind of throwing scriptures out there, and the fact that, one thing that I've learned, when it comes to studying scripture, is the law of first mention. And the law of first mention, of course, is looking up when day and night's going to be. And I think that's the same way you got to look at Torah. There's a law of first mention of this particular mitzvah or command in Torah. And so if that's what Yahuah commands us, then that's what it's going to be. And that's what I firmly believe. And that's how I've learned to study the scriptures. But, what I wanted to really just point out here is just a firm foundation here. And the thing is that I'm not accusing anybody of twisting scriptures. I'm not accusing anybody of doing things. Again, we're to walk out our own salvation with fear and trembling. And we really have to question our heart in this matter here, because, I spent years, over 10 years in Messianic Judaism and in Hebrew roots. And I'm really starting to see this attitude out there saying, oh, well, if it's Jewish, then I'm not going to do it. For those that have come out the Messianic Jewish movement or Hebrew roots movement. And then I've seen those that have come out of Christianity that don't want anything to do with Yahushua or getting mikvah. I mean, I'll give you a perfect example. Mikvah, being immersed in the name of Yahushua. Most people, especially a lot of Jews that are coming out there in the system, if you want to, anybody in that religious Jewish system, they don't want to get immersed, and because they think it's a Christian thing, but yet it's a Yahuah thing. And yet it's correct. I'm just using that as an example to kind of make my point here. And listen, I don't agree with everything that Judaism teaches. I don't believe in the Talmud. I don't believe in the rabbinical writings. But again, we have to look back in Bereshit, in the beginning. And the fact of the matter is, and I'm going to kind of come out to a different view here, because the major misinterpretation of Scripture is when Yahushua says that there's 12 hours by day. And I'm going to come with a different view, and I'm actually going to read from the book of Hanukkah. And I know all you guys are going to start throwing rocks at me. Oh, no, not one of these books, but I believe it to be Scripture. I 100% I believe it to be Scripture, because the thing is, here's the thing, guys. We're talking about hours. We're talking about days. We're talking about minutes and seconds. And the thing is that some of these things, especially for this whole AM, PM thing, That's not a Yahuah thing. That's a secular world thing. I don't know where it originated from. I'm not sure. I haven't done too much research on it. But, to understand Yahuwah's word, what we really have to understand is we have to step in and understand his language and his intent. And I'm going to prove to you guys this evening the fact that in the book of Enoch, it talks about the different windows. And I don't have a chart, but I'm probably making a chart on this eventually on this and doing an in-depth video in the future about the Enochian calendar, because there's major misunderstandings about that too. But again, I'm not here to talk about the Enochian calendar. I am to an extent, but at the same time, I'm not. So let's start in Bereshit chapter 1, and I'm going to prove my point here. And again, a brother out there made a good point in the fact that, and I think it was in Samuel chapter 30, verse 17, he made a good point, but at the same time, we have to read it very carefully. Because again, are we stooping down to man's interpretation, or are we stooping down to what Yahuah says? And in verse 4, Bereshit chapter 1, verse 4, and it says, and Elohim saw the light, that it was good, and Elohim separated the light from the darkness. And Elohim called the light day, and the darkness he called night. And there came to be evening, and there came to be morning, day 1. Now, here's a question I want to throw out here. Obviously, Yahuwah created light. But here's a question I want to throw out there. Were the sun, the moon, and the stars created at that time? No, they were not. They weren't created until the 4th day of creation. So which light are we talking about? We're talking about Yahuwah balancing his light and darkness. Yahuwah setting order in there. And so, there has to be a beginning. There truly has to be a beginning. And what it's saying here in verse 4 is the fact that evening came and then daylight came there. So he separated. It's a matter of balance there. That's what he did on the first day. The sun, the stars were not created until the 4th day. And that's actually, I believe, part of the reason why, and for us that keep the Enochian calendar, why we actually count back the 400 days mentioned in Enoch chapter 75, because of that. That's my own conjecture, my own assumption. I don't want to say assumption, but there's a conjecture and a food for thought that I came about when I started keeping this calendar. But we have to put ourselves in Yahushua's shoes at the time, and I think it was in Yahuah. I think it's in the book of Yahuah, and I'm going to turn there, and I'm going to read there. It's when Yahushua was about to go raise Eleazar. And I'm going to make a very important, valid point here. And again, I didn't put anything together. I just felt led to do this. I know I haven't put up any videos in a while, and it's been kind of busy here. The fact of the matter, guys, is that we really have to look at it from Yahuwah's understanding, his viewpoint, what his word says, and the law first mentioned everything. So I'm going to read in chapter 11, Yahuah, chapter 11. And it said, a certain one was sick, Eleazar, from Beth Anya, the village of Miriam, and her sister Martha. Now it was Miriam who anointed the master with perfume and wiped his feet with her hair. His brother Eleazar was sick. Therefore the sisters went to him, saying, Master, see, he whom you love is sick. But when Yahushua heard, he said, This sickness is not to death, but for the esteem of Elohim, so that the son of Elohim might be esteemed by it. Now Yahushua loved Martha and her sister and Eleazar. Therefore when he heard that he was sick, then indeed he stayed at the place where he was 2 more days. Excuse me. Then after this he said to the Talmudim, Let us go back to Yehuda. The Talmudim said to him, Rabbi, the Yehudim now are seeking to stone you, and are you going back there? Yahushua answered, Are there not 12 hours in a day? If anyone walks in the day, he does not stumble, because he sees the light of this world. But if anyone walks in the night, he stumbles, because the light is not in him. So what we see here is that Yahushua is talking about 12 hours in a day. And I'm going to kind of make mention of this because, especially for those of us who live in the States, notice that in our summertime, the days get longer when we go from spring to summer. And then when we go from fall or autumn to winter, the days get shorter. And I'm going to address that in the book of Enoch. But the main point that we have to see is when exactly did this take place? And the fact of the matter is that it says in verse 55 in chapter 11, same chapter, that the Pesach of the Yehudim was near. So it was near at that time that Yahushua went to go raise Elazar. Now we know that Pesach is the 14th day of the first month of the year, which is Aviv. And what I'm going to bring about the fact here is that he talks about 12 hours a day, because if you look at the book of Enoch, which I'm going to read to you guys right now, and I may do a chart on this in the future, y'all willing, but I kind of want to just throw this out there and get you guys taken. I know some of you guys don't believe that Enoch is scripture, but it talks about Enoch. It actually quotes Enoch in the book of Yahuah, or the book of Jude. So it's scripture, guys, whether you like it or not. It's been left out intentionally because it brings controversial about the calendar there. But see what chapter I'm going to start here. I might just start from verse 1. And this is Uriel, one of the Malachim, the messenger speaking to Enoch about the lights, the order of lights and everything. And we're going to talk about the order of the sun. Now, so I'm going to start with verse 1 here. It says, chapter 72. The book of the courses of the lights of the Shemaim, the relations of each according to their classes, their domain, and their seasons, according to their names and places of origin, and according to their months, which Uriel, the Kodesh messenger who was with me, who is the guide, showed me. And he showed me all their laws exactly as they are, and how it was regard to all the years of the world and into everlasting, till the new creation is accomplished, which endures to everlasting. And this is the first law of the lights. The light, the sun, has its rising in the eastern portals of the Shemaim, and it's going out into the western portals of the Shemaim. And I saw 6 portals in which the sun rises. And when we're talking about portals, we're talking about latitude. We're talking about degree of latitude. This is just the language that Enoch used at this time. So, verse 3. And I saw 6 portals in which the sun rises, and 6 portals in which the sun goes down. And the moon rises and goes down in these portals. And the leaders of the stars, and those from the lead, 6 in the excuse me, 6 in the east and 6 in the west, and all following each other accurately corresponding order. Also many windows to the right and left of these portals. And first there goes forth the great line, like named the sun, and its circumference is like the circumference of the Shemaim, and he is quite filled with illuminating and heating fire. The chariot on which he ascends, the wind drives, and the sun goes down from the Shemaim and returns to the north in order to reach the east, and is so guided that he comes to the portal and shines in the face of the Shemaim. In this way, he rises in the first month in the great portal. We're talking about the first month, which is the month of Aviv. In this way, he rises in the first month in the great portal, which is the 4th portal, which is the middle. And I'm going to make up a chart in the future about this to give you guys some clarity here. And that 4th portal from which the sun rises in the first month are 12 window openings, from which proceed a flame when they are open in their season. When the sun rises in Shemaim, he comes forth that 4th portal, 30 mornings, 30 days, in succession, and goes down exactly in the 4th portal in the west of the Shemaim. And during this period, the day becomes daily longer. So we're going in spring into this. We're in spring. We're going into summer, and the nightly shorter to the 30th morning. And that day, the day is longer than the night. Now listen to this very carefully here, in verse 10 here. And we're not talking about hours. We're talking about parts a day. On that day, The day is longer than the night by 9th part, and the day accounts exactly to 10 parts, and the night to 8 parts. So we see the day's getting longer and the night's getting shorter. And the sun rises from that 4th portal, goes down to the 4th, and returns to the 5th portal of the east 30 mornings, and rises from it and goes down in the 5th portal. And then the day becomes longer by 2 parts, and amounts to 11 parts. And the night becomes shorter and amounts to 7 parts. So we see the days getting longer. Again, the day is going to have 11 parts, and the night becomes shorter to 7 parts. And it returns to the east and enters into the 6th portal and rises and goes down in the 6th portal 31 mornings on account of its sign. Now, for the Hinoch calendar, just to stop for a second here, the Hinoch calendar for each season, we have 30-day month, a 30-day month, and then a 31-day month. That 31st day is an intercalary day. It's your change of season. So your seasons correlate with the months of the calendar. This is why you guys out there that are going based upon this whole 12-hour Shabbat thing, you guys have to read Hinoch. You're not going to completely grasp everything unless you understand the portals and the lights and how everything works in the book of Hinoch. And that's why you guys are confused out there. And honestly, you know what? I mean, we really have to question the intent of the heart as far as why are we making a 12-hour Shabbat? You know, why it's not about 12 hours. It's about from the time the sun goes down to the time the sun goes down again, as we just read in Bereshit chapter 1, verse 4, in the first day. Then came evening, and then came day, and then that was the first day. It continues on to the rest of the days there. You know, we just have to wake up here. But I'm going at a different angle here, and a lot of you guys may not completely understand. Again, y'all willing, you know, I'm going to make a chart about this and I'll share it with you. I have a chalkboard. I have a marker board here somewhere. I haven't used it. And it's probably going to come up backwards here, but I'm going to do my best here because you guys need to understand this, you know. And again, I'm not trying to steer you guys in different doctrines. I'm not trying to confuse you guys. Again, each and every one has a choice. We have to research ourselves. And, you know, there's 66, books in our scriptures, but there should be more. And important books like the book of Hinoch, the book of Jubilees, the book of Jasher, these are important books to have. They're mentioned. So, you guys can say, oh, well, you're quoting books outside of scripture. Yeah, you know what? I am, because I'm like trying to make a point because they're important books and they are scripture. You just have to pray about that and read it for yourself and see if everything lines up. So, verse 14 in chapter 72 in the book of Hinoch. On that day, the day becomes longer than the night, and the day becomes double the night. The day becomes 12 parts, and the night is shortened, becomes 6 parts. Actually, we go back to verse 14, because we just mentioned about the 31st day. So that would be summer. That 31st day, we're going from spring to summer, and you're in a clear day. And then in verse 15, and the sun mounts up to take the day shorter and the night longer. And the sun returns to the east and enters into the 6th portal and rises from it and goes down 30 mornings. And when 30 mornings are accomplished, the day decreases by exactly 1 part and becomes 11 parts, and the night 7. And the sun goes down from the 6th portal in the west and goes to the east and rises in the 5th portal for 30 mornings, and goes down west again in the 5th western portal. On that day, the day decreases by 2 parts and amounts to 10 parts, and to the night 8 parts. So we notice that we're going to get an equal day, equal night pretty soon here, guys. And the sun goes forth from the 5th portal and goes down the 5th portal of the west and rises in the 4th portal for 31 mornings, another intercalary day. So now we're going from summer to fall. On account of the sun that goes down in the west. On that day, verse 20, listen very carefully, guys. On that day, the day is equalized with the night, and the night amounts to 9 parts, and the day to 9 parts. So in other words, it's 9 parts day, 9 parts night. Now we did mention that what Yahuah mentioned in chapter 11, a day has 12 hours. I believe, and this is just conjecture here, you guys, you can take it and do your research. But I believe that when Yahushua was saying that, I believe that that could have been right around the intercalary day of spring, which would be equal 9 parts day, 9 parts night. And again, this is the language that Uriel, the Kadosh Malachim, the messenger of Yahuah, is showing Hanok. This is the language he's using here. Again, I'm coming at this at a different angle than everybody else is. I'm using the resources that I have, the Book of Hanok, which I believe is a very important resource, because again, you guys are not going to be able to grasp this unless you understand these things. Because once you guys get this, you're not going to be arguing about, Shabbat's 12 hours long, whatever. It's the Hanokian calendar really just equates everything. It just blows it all out. And I'm coming at a different angle. And the fact of the matter is that, this whole 12-hour Shabbat thing, this just blows it out there. And again, you know what? For you guys that are going by that doctrine, that's fine. At the end of the day, that's between you and Yahuah. But I'm just trying to point some things out here to get your guys' attention. And again, if I didn't know what I was talking about, I wouldn't be here doing this video. But I feel as if I kind of have to do this video here, kind of a rebuttal, but yeah, not a rebuttal, but to learn myself, because I've been kind of researching this thing, and I've been keeping this calendar for less than a year, and I've realized that it's perfect. It's everything's fixed. Your Shabbat's on the 7th day. Your feast days are fixed. And again, we're going to do a separate video on that, Yah willing. But this is just something I want to point out here to you guys. And in verse 22, and on that day the night becomes longer than the day, and the night becomes longer than night. So let's see, we read again. And on that day the night becomes longer than the day, and night becomes longer than night, and day shorter than day till the 30th morning. The night amounts to exactly 10 parts, and the day to 8 parts. And I believe that's the portal that we're actually in right now, guys. You notice it's getting dark early. Sun's already, it's 7:15. Sun's already down. And then verse 23, the sun rises from the third portal and goes down into the third portal in the west, and returns to the east for 30 mornings, rises in the second portal in the east, and the same way goes down in the second portal in the west of the Shamayim. And that day the night amounts to 11 parts, and the day to 7 parts. So we're getting closer to winter. Remember, the shortest day of the year is in the winter. So now we're going from autumn to winter. The days are getting shorter, and the nights are getting longer. Verse 25, and the sun rises in the day from the second portal, and goes down in the west in the second portal, and returns to the east into the first portal for 31 mornings, and goes down in the first portal in the west of the Shamayim. So 31 mornings. That means that we went from autumn, fall, to winter in this right here. Remember, whenever you have a month that's 31 days, according to the Hanokian calendar, it's an intercalary day in there. And on that day, the night becomes longer and amounts to the double of the day, and the night amounts exactly to 12 parts, and the day to 6. And the sun has traversed the divisions of its orbit, and turns again on those divisions of its orbit, and enters that portal 30 mornings, and goes down also in the west opposite to it. And on that night, the night has decreased in length by a ninth part, and the night has become 11 parts, and the day 7 parts. So now, because we're going from that part, now our days are going to be getting longer and our nights shorter. Verse 29, and the sun has returned and entered into the second portal in the east, and returns to those its divisions of its orbit for 30 mornings, rising and going down. And on that day, the night decreases in length, and the night amounts to 10 parts, and the day to 8. On that day, the sun rises from the portal and goes down in the west, and returns to the east, and rises in the third portal for 31 mornings. Now we're going from winter to spring. So we finish verse 31 here. So on that day the sun rises from the portal and goes down in the west, and returns to the east, and rises in the third portal for 31 mornings, and goes down in the west of the Shamayim. On that day the night decreases and amounts to 9 parts, and the day to 9 parts. Equal day, equal night. Spring. Let me read verse 32 again. On that day, the night decreases and amounts to 9 parts, and the day to 9 parts, and the night is equal to the day, and the year is exactly to its days 364 days. Not 365 days that some of y'all teach out there, but 364 days. Let me go to verse 33 now. No rebuttal on what we just read here. And the length of the day and of the night, and the shortness of the day and of the night arise. That the course of the sun, they are separated. So it comes that its course becomes daily longer, and its course nightly longer. And this is the law, and the course of the sun, and its return, as often as he returns 60 times and rises, the great light which is named the sun forever and ever. And that which rises is a great light, and so named according to its appearance, according as Yahuah commanded. So Yahuah commanded this. As he rises, so he goes down, and does not decrease, and does not rest, but runs day and night, and its light is sevenfold brighter than that of the moon. But as regards size, they are both equal. Meaning that we're on Earth, for example, an eclipse. A solar eclipse, the moon is going right over the sun. You notice that the moon covers the sun completely. So in other words, they look exactly the same size when we're here on Earth, but for the fact that the sun is a lot bigger than the moon. So here's my rebuttal here, guys. So we know for a fact that the first month and the 7th month of the ancient Enochian calendar, the calendar that was used in the time of Enoch, Noah, Abraham, Yitzhak, Yaakov, Moses, the Kohen Hagadol, Dawood, David, Shlomo. The first and the 7th month are in a month that was after an intercalary month, meaning that the 1st and 7th month are equal day, equal night. So, Yahuah has it planned out perfectly. The fact that it's equal day, equal night, so it gives us enough time to do the Moedim. For example, in Pesach, we put down a lamb for memorial between the evenings. And it's a lot easier to do that. Why? Because it's equal day, equal night. It's in a month that does that. Of course, the so-called scientists, or call them the evil priests, evil scientists, they have really messed up our calendar a lot. And the fact that those of you guys who are using a lunar calendar, your days are not fixed. Because it says in Yobelim that it's going to be 10 days shorter, so it's 354 days a year. So it means that every 3 years you have to add a 13th month, which there's no inscription. All you guys are going to say, oh, well, it's mentioned in Ezekiel, but that's a completely misinterpretation. But, what I'm trying to say here, guys, is that, the hours, how many hours Shabbat is, whatever, this destroys it. It just destroys it. It destroys that idea because, on our winter, when we go from fall and winter, we notice that it gets lighter earlier, but then it gets darker earlier. We notice that in the summer, spring and summer, it gets lighter later, and it gets darker later. And it's just a matter of how the earth has its tilt. And of course, right now, it's because of the fact that we're in the last days, the earth is really wobbling like a top. I don't know if you guys are kids and you guys got those little tops used to spin, kept on spinning, but when it slowed down, it just wobbled. And of course, we know that with that Yahushua is coming back real soon to restore everything. To restore the house of Israel and to restore this planet and the Shamayim, everything to be a brand new planet in Shamayim. But first, we have to go through the hard stuff and get ready to go in the wilderness pretty soon when Yahuwah calls us to do that. Call his bride there. But that's another teaching for another day. But, for you guys that are just doing this whole 6 p.m. to 6 p.m. thing, it just completely destroys it. Because, how can it be Shabbat at 6 p.m. in the summertime and it's still light? You can't. You have to go based upon the amount of light and darkness. And again, what I do, I don't go by the moon. I don't even go by the sun. But I go by the amount of light and darkness, because Yahuah, in the very beginning, divided the light from the darkness. And you have to understand that in the first day, there was no sun. There was no moon. There were no stars. It's his light dividing from his light in the darkness, creating order in the Shemaim. And so that's why I just completely, disagree with this whole day starts at, at sunrise. Honestly, I think I don't think it's scriptural whatsoever. Yeah, you know what? The Jewish religion may have some things wrong, but I don't think that they're wrong. I don't think they're wrong on this, and think about this, guys. Before we went on this walk, and before we accepted Yahushua in his blood sacrifice, the fact of the matter is this, and I'm sorry, someone's calling on Skype here, but the bottom line, guys, is the fact that and I'm sorry, someone's calling on Skype, and I'm almost done this video, but the fact of the matter is this, guys. The fact is that this completely destroys everything with everything. We have to go back and see Yahuwah's point of view. We have to go based on his point of view, his language. And we know that Hanach was taken up in the Shemayim, and the Hanach was learned. It's mentioned in the book of Jubilees. And of course, you guys are probably going to be complaining, oh, that's not scripture either. The bottom line is that we have to go back and research scripture. We have to go back into that ancient past. Yahuah chapter 16 talks about going to the ancient past of Yahuah. And I'm not talking about getting into Christianity. I'm not talking about getting into Judaism, Messianic Judaism, or Hebrew roots, or anything like that. What I'm talking about is going back to the ancient past. The past of our forefathers, Abraham, Yitzhak, Yaakov, our father Hanach, who was the seventh from Adam, who received this from Uriel. And yet, you also realize in the book of Yobelim, I've been reading that along with the Torah portions, the fact that when the Kodesh Malakim messenger taught Abraham Ibrit, says it in the book of Yobelim, and how the fact that he was studying the books. Now, what books was he studying? There was no Torah back then because it was before Moshe. What it was the books of Hanach, and it was also the books of Noah. So, we have to question these things here. We have to really just question these things here. And I hope that you guys really just search out this matter here. Get yourself a copy of Hanach. Get yourself a copy of Yobelim. Do your research, and you know what? Yahushua said that was 12 hours a day because of the fact that it was in their Clary day. It was going into spring. Equal day, equal night. And so this completely destroys it, guys. It just does. And I'm sorry, but, I for those of you guys that think it starts by day, you know what? It's messing everything up, because you have to understand that most of your modim, most of your feast start at night. Going from Pesach on the 14th day, what happens when the sun goes down? It's the 15th day. It's the Feast of Unleavened Bread. When after Yahushua died on the tree, when he was hung on the tree, I don't think he hung on a cross, but it was a tree. This is based on the lunar calendar. This all happens that year, and you may want to check out this brother Rob Moore. He has a good explanation of Yahushua keeping Pesach. But that year, on the Hanakian calendar, it was a day before the Jewish Pesach, which was the next day. And so, Devarim chapter 21, it says, curses ye hung from a tree. You want to have them down before the night's over. So the bottom line is that, we love to overcomplicate things. And again, I'm not trying to twist anything. I'm just going based on what Scripture says. I'm going based on law of first mention. And obviously, with law of first mention, if it says this, then it's this. It's not that, but it's this. It is what it is, guys. It is what it is. And we have to go based upon what Yahuah says in his language, his understanding, his path. Not our own path, but His path, His ways. And I know a lot of guys. I know a lot of you guys out there trying to find truth. And you know what? Every one of us is. And I love you guys. Even if you guys completely reject this video, again, I'm not trying to put anybody down for starting your day at sunrise, but I just think that there needs to be further research out there, and and especially those of you out there who are believing in a 6 p.m. to 6 p.m. Shabbat. Did Yahuah command that? I don't think He did. And it just sometimes we have to question our heart, and sometimes we do have to question the heart matters. For keeping Shabbat, for instance, because it is a weekly Shabbat. It is a Kodesh gathering. We're supposed to have a Kodesh set apart gathering. Is it a burden to do that? Is it a burden to rest from the time that from the time the sun goes down and the time it goes down again the next day? And the thing is, if we read based on that mindset, based on what Genesis chapter 1 told us, how Yahuah created the heavens and the earth, then you know what? There should be no problems. There should be no misunderstanding. There should be no misinterpretation. So that's really what I have to say in the matter. I'm sorry I haven't posted a video in a while, but I'm just seeing all this stuff out there. And you know what? Another thing I want to bring about is I know some of you guys out there are really hard on other brothers that are kind of going to this understanding. Listen, you know what? We love our brothers no matter what. Some of us don't have the name down right. Some of us don't have the calendar down right. Some of us are still going based on lunar calendar. Some of us maybe on lunar Shabbat. The bottom line is that we still have to love one another and walk our own salvation, fear and trembling, and bear the fruit and share with one another in the ahava and the love that Yahuah would want us to have for one another. Yahuah is not an author of confusion. There shouldn't be any confusion whatsoever. It's straightforward, but it's also the matter of time that you put in studying His Word, praying to Him, and asking Him for wisdom, knowledge, and understanding. And once that's done, Yahuah leads you the way. Again, you just have to question everything. We have to also not forget the lying pens of the scribes mentioned in Yirmiyahu. Our scriptures have been tampered with. So I pray that you all have a good night, good rest of the weekend. As we're already in the first day, the sun went down. I just pray that it all goes well, and I pray for the body of Mashiach that, look forward to meeting each and every one of you when we're gathered together in the wilderness, and I'll be well with you guys. So, Shalom in the name of Yahushua HaMashiach, and Yahuah Baruch you. Yamin.